Hello, this is Edoreld and welcome to Thermal Expansion 3 from scratch. In this new series I'm going to be taking a look at Thermal Expansion 3, an industrial mod that adds a ton of content to the game. In this episode I will be taking a look at world generation as well as all the machines that the mod adds. So let's get started. Thermal Expansion adds 5 new ores to the game. We've got copper, tin, silver, lead and ferrous ore, and of course they all have their corresponding ingots. These ores do not spawn at all height levels. If you want to know exactly where do they spawn, you can check the configuration files for the world generation, and the ingots you get from these ores can be used to make all the machines and blocks and items in the mod. So why don't we take a look at those now? Before we take a look at the machines, I just want to remind you that you can use not enough items in order to see the crafting recipes for most, if not all, blocks and items in the mod. The first machine we're gonna take a look at is the redstone furnace, which is this block right here. And it's used as a replacement for the vanilla furnace. It's faster and more efficient, and this is what it looks like when we right click on it. First of all, you've got the input slot right here, as well as the output, and you just put something in the input slot and it's gonna process it and it's gonna create whatever it makes. To do this, instead of using coal or charcoal, it uses its own energy system, which is RF or redstone flux, and the bar on the left is telling you how much redstone flux is stored in the machine, in which in this case we've got the maximum possible. To the left of the energy bar we've got two tabs. The information tab that tells you things about the machine, how it works, what it's used for, and then we've got the tutorial tab, which explains things like how other tabs work. Like for example here it's saying the redstone control tab and the configuration tab. It's telling you how to use them, and it also tells you that it requires redstone flux to operate. So some useful information. On the right side we've got the energy tab, which tells you three things: how much energy the machine is able to use, maximum power, how much energy it's currently using, as well as how much energy is currently stored in the machine. The next tab is the redstone control tab, which is used to control the machine with redstone. Usually it's set at low, which means the machine will only work if there is no redstone signal applied to it. The high setting is the opposite, only works if there's a redstone signal applied to the machine. The ignore setting means the machine will work regardless of redstone signal applied to it. And finally, the last tab is the configuration tab, which is used to set the size of the machine to either input or output. So in this machine we've got the input marked by blue and the output marked by red. That means that if we change the things here, and if we take a look at the machine, we're gonna see that the sides change to correspond to the inside interface. So this corresponds to the left, this to the top, this to the bottom, right, and this is the back of the machine. And in this case the only output slot is set to the right of the machine, as you can see here. Now the output works really easily, really simple. If we've got a chest or another valid inventory and we put something to process, once it's processed, the output is going to go straight into the output slot, and if it finds a valid inventory it will put the output there. For the input slot it's a little bit more complicated. It will not read the contents of an inventory. You're actually going to have to put to output items into it. For example, if you have Buildcraft installed, you can use some pipes. In this case I'm going to use an obsidian transport pipe. You just connect it to one of the input sites, and then you just throw in the items that you want the machine to process. The mod also adds its own system of pipes, which I will talk about in future episodes, and that you can use to put items into the input slots, into the input size of machines. This is also useful to connect machines together. For example, if you got a furnace connected to another machine, you can make it so that the output of the furnace automatically goes to the next machine. Next machine, we've got the pulverizer. The pulverizer is mainly used to double the output of your ores or converting items into their base materials. So if we check the recipes, which in most machines you can do by clicking on the arrow, you can check, like for example, if we put some gold ore in there, it's going to make 2 pulverized gold dust, which you can then smelt, so effectively doubling the output of your ores. If you put things in there, it's also able to make them into materials. So for example, if we put some energy conduits, which we haven't seen yet, we'll get the materials that are used to make it. And you can check all of the other recipes on your own. Sometimes you get a byproduct, which is this little slot on the bottom. For example, for copper ore, there's a 10% chance of getting pulverized gold. And the byproduct slot is right here, is marked by a yellow square, and you can configure it on one of the sides independently of the main output slot, which is the red square here. So that's the pulverizer. The sawmill is a machine that works mainly with wood and things made out of wood. If we put wood logs in there, what it's gonna do is create more planks than we would usually get by transforming the wood manually, as well as a byproduct of sawdust. But it's also able to transform things made out of wood into their base materials. So we can put boats in there, or pressure plates, beds, etc., etc. And that's the sawmill. Here we have the induction smelter, a machine that has 2 input slots and 2 output slots, and of course all of them can be configured independently of each other. Now what this machine allows you to do mainly is combine sand with a type of ore, and you're gonna get straight to 2 ingots. So instead of having to pulverize the ore, get 2 dust and then smelt the dust, you can just put sand with the ore and then you're gonna get 2 ingots right away. There's also a chance of a byproduct. In this case I got some rich slag. What rich slag allows you to do is triple the output of some ores. So if I put rich slag with 1 piece of iron ore, what this is gonna produce is 3 iron ingots. There you go. And there's also a chance in some recipes of this machine of getting slag, and slag is really useful. You can use it to make clay or florb, which is another item in the mod, and you can also smelt it to get rock wool, which is a type of wool that looks the same as vanilla one, except for it cannot be set on fire. So it's really useful if you're building your base next to lava or close to lava. The induction smelter also has other useful recipes, not necessarily dealing with ores. For example, you can combine copper and tin to make alloy ingot, and you can also make hardened glass, which is used in other blocks, and I recommend you check the recipes out by yourself. And that's the induction smelter. The magma crucible is a machine that allows you to take some items or blocks and turn them into the liquid version of themselves. For example, we can turn redstone into destabilized redstone. And if we check the recipes, which in this case we do by clicking on the drop looking item, we can see that we can turn, for example, cobblestone or obsidian into lava. We can make liquid ender pearls, and there are a few other recipes that you might want to know about. So I recommend you check them out by yourself. And then we can pump this liquid out of the internal tank by using pipes, which we'll talk about in another episode, or you can connect the machine directly to other machines that require that liquid. So that's the magma crucible. Another machine that deals with fluids is the fluid transposer, and this machine has an internal tank, an input slot and an output slot. And what this machine allows you to do is put a filled container on the input slot, and if you put it in the right mode, in this case let's put it in the empty mode, it's going to take the liquid out of that container, put it in the internal tank, and then give you back the container. If we put it in the fill mode and we put an empty container in the input slot, what it's going to do is take the liquid from its internal tank and then put it in whichever container you put in the input slot. So that's the fluid transposer. The Glacial precipitator is a very simple machine that can make three types of items. So it can make 4 snowballs at a time, it can make snow blocks, or it can make ice. And to make any of these, it's going to need energy as well as water. And you can pump in water in 2 ways. You can either pump it in through pipes from one of the input sides, or you can use a water container. For example, I've got a water bucket here. I'm just gonna right click on the machine, and the interface on the outside is gonna change to show you that it's working. Now to make ice, you're gonna need to use 1000 units of water. To make snow or snowballs, you're just gonna need to use half of that. So that's the Glacial precipitator. The Accumulator is a machine that produces water. Now, as you can see here, the water tank is filling up really slowly. To speed this process up, you're going to need to put water source blocks around the machine. Usually 2 is enough. So you want to connect some water to the red or orange sides here. And I'm going to put a couple of blocks to block the water. And when I put a couple of buckets here, this is going to act like an infinite source of water, so it's going to start producing 1000 units of water every couple of seconds. And then of course you can pump it out through 2 other machines that need it. And that's the Accumulator. The Igneous Extruder is a machine that's able to create cobblestone, stone, or obsidian. To do this, you're going to need both lava and water. Now in the case of cobblestone, you just need to have 1000 units of lava. So let's put that with a lava bucket. Now we've got 1000 units, and you're going to need 1000 units of water. And that's going to create cobblestone forever. You're never going to run out of water or lava. To make stone, however, you're going to need, while you won't run out of lava, you will run out of water. Every unit, every block of stone is going to cost you 1000 units of water. If you want to create obsidian, you're going to need both 1000 units of lava and 1000 units of water, which are going to be consumed in the process. So you can see it's creating obsidian slightly slower than what it takes to create the other ones, and now my lava and my water have disappeared. So that's the Igneous Extruder, and as you can see, it does not need any energy to work. The Energetic Infuser is a machine that's mainly used to charge blocks or items that require energy. So for example, in the mod we've got energy cells, which are blocks that store energy, and I've got an empty leadstone energy cell here, which is now using the energy from the Energetic Infuser to fill up. So if we hold shift to see the details of the machine, we see that the charge is going up, and it's going slowly because this machine, which is the low tier of energy cells, is only able to receive at 80 redstone flux per tick. But in any case, it's filling up slowly, and when it fills up completely, the machine will go to the right side, from which you can output automatically using the output sides, or just take it manually from there if you want. So that's the Energetic Infuser. This machine right here is the Machinists Workbench, which is an advanced type of workbench, and it has a new tab, which is the Security tab. In this case, it's set to Restricted, which is a mode where only you and friends of you will be able to access the machine. You can also set it to Public Access, so everyone has access, or to Owner Only, in which case only you will have access. And all of these settings only make sense in multiplayer, of course. In restricted mode, if you run this command on the on Minecraft, COFH friend GUI, you're gonna see your friends list, and in your friends list you can write the name of people you want to give access to your machines. And for example, if I want to give King Lemming the access to this machine, I will write his name, click on the plus button, and he will be added to the whitelist. Now let's see what the machine can do. Basically, it has a crafting grid where you can put a recipe, and 18 storage slots where you can put the materials used for the recipe. So that's the most basic functionality. If I put sticks here, for example, as well as iron ingots, that's the recipe for an iron pickaxe, And since I put the sticks in the storage, it's telling me that I have them, but since I don't have iron ingots in the storage, it's surrounding them by a red background. If I were to put iron ingots, 1, 2, and then finally 3, then now I can craft the recipe. And as long as the recipe is going to be saved, and as long as I have items in the storage slots, I'm going to be able to craft it as many times as I want. I can also use this button to clear the crafting grid, and I can just fill it up again with whatever recipe I want. And this button right here is used to copy the recipe in the crafting grid into this item called a schematic. If I put a schematic on one of the left slots, the button is going to become active, and if I left click it, then the recipe for the iron pickaxe will be written to the schematic. If I hold shift, I'm going to be able to see automatically the output of the recipe. So holding shift is a useful shortcut to see the output, and this is useful if I have several schematics here. I can choose between them, and if I choose the one I want and I click on the button right here, the button has turned into set crafting grid from schematic, and I can click it to do just that. So if I had an iron pickaxe, I just set it here. If I have like an iron hoe, I can just select it and then set it, and then I'll have the recipe for iron hoes. So it's an advanced workbench which can make crafting different things easier. Now the schematics are not only used in this block, in this machine, they're also used in the next one, which is the Cyclic assembler. The Cyclic assembler is a machine used to automate crafting by using schematics. So for example, let's take the schematic for an iron pickaxe that we made before, and let's put it in the schematic slot. Now as long as we have power in the machine and we give it the materials it needs, in this case iron and sticks, it's going to create the item that is contained in the schematic. And if there's a chest connected to the output side of the machine, it's going to put the results of the crafting recipe, and it's going to put them in the chest as long as it has materials and energy. So let's take off the chest, and a cool thing that this machine has is also an internal liquid tank. Let's put some water and see how that works. I'm giving it from a tank. It's full of water, and I have a recipe here that requires thin plates as well as water cells. Now if I put the recipe here and I put some thin plates, it's gonna be able to create it even though I haven't provided the machine with water cells, and that's because it's using the water to replace the water cells in the recipe. So I can just take the coolant cells off, and it will only use the water, the tin cells, to create the coolant cell. This machine also has a new tab, which is the schematic tab, and basically you can use it to write recipes into schematics. So if we have the recipe for, let's say, oh wait, I have to turn that off. If we have the recipe for a hoe, and we have a schematic here that's for coolant cells currently, and I click the check button, the recipe for the hoe is going to be written into the iron hoe. So that's how that works. And that's the Cyclic assembler. This machine right here is the autonomous activator. The autonomous activator is able to simulate the left click or right click of a player, and you can configure it by using these buttons here. You can say whether it's a right click or a left click, whether you're sneaking or not, whether you're aiming at the top, bottom, or the center of a block, and whether you want the items that you put in here to be used in a round-robin manner, first slot only, or to be used randomly. And you can use this, for example, to use buckets. If I were to put a bucket of water inside the machine and set it to right click, then it's going to use the water, which of course will place the water. Then when it places the water, it returns the container to the crafting grid, not the crafting grid, the storage, and then the empty bucket is used as a right click, and it will of course drain the water inside. So you can use that with a variety of items, and that's the autonomous activator. This machine is a terrain smasher. The terrain smasher will break any blocks or liquids in front of it as long as it has somewhere to put them. If it doesn't have a chest connected to its output side, it will store the block that it destroys inside of itself. However, it only has space for one block. So it won't break this block because there's already one inside. Now if I put a chest, the block that's inside is going to go into the chest as well as the block that I put after. Now this machine can also drain liquids. However, it will drain as much as you want. However, it will destroy them unless it actually has a place to put them. So as you can see, I've put like 6 or 7 buckets, and now if I put a tank on top, it's not going to fill the tank, even if I put the output slot to be up, because the water has all been destroyed since it didn't have anywhere to go. Now if I put water now, it will take the water and put it in the tank. Just like that. If I check, you can see there's 3000, which is equivalent to 3 buckets of water. And that's the terrain smasher. Now the next machine is very simple to understand. It's the nullifier, and basically when you use it manually, you can put items inside of it and they get instantly destroyed. This machine does not require energy. It can get inputs from its sides. For example, I've got a chest here. Let's put a tank, and the tank is going to be sucked in through the pipes. It's going to go into the nullifier and it's going to get destroyed instantly. And that's the nullifier. So that was it about world generation and machines. In the next episode I'm going to talk about power. How to generate power, how to store power, and how to transfer power. So I hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll see you next time.